Hey, Hattricks fans, happy summer, happy 4th of July weekend. We're about 100 days away from the season and home opener, October 10th and 11th at the Danbury Ice Arena against the Port Huron Prowlers. I think we're all expecting that to be an exciting and intense kickstart to the 2025-26 season. And before that, there's still plenty of work to be done by this guy right here and the rest of the Hattrick staff. I'm Doug Lattuca, the broadcaster for the Danbury Hattricks, joined by the fourth head coach in Danbury Hattricks history, Nick Niedert. First off, congratulations, Nick, on the job. I know everyone here in the organization and the fan base is super excited to have you here as the bench boss and leading the way for this new chapter in Danbury Hattricks history. What has the summer been like for you since taking over the reins?
Still been pretty early in the process right now. We have, just around 100 days left. Now we're getting into July and we're gonna start to see who wants to come back. A lot of guys were trying to get to Europe. Those spots are pretty thin right now. Um, and then we're going to go into seeing, who wants to come back, who's not found a job, who's been training, who's actually getting after it this summer. So, July is usually a good indicator on when and if guys are coming back for the following season and see how many holes you need to plug and go from there.
It always feels like the offseason is a little bit longer in the FPHL as opposed to some of the affiliated leagues, ECHL, AHL, NHL, of course, just because the playoffs don't run as deep, right? We just finished up some of those leagues, the Stanley Cup, and even in the AHL finished a little bit after the NHL. So always seems like that extra month, month and a half makes the offseason a little bit longer. And I know our fans are definitely itching to get back to some Danbury Hattricks hockey. Walk us through the process that led you to become the head coach of the Danbury Hattricks. I know it was about a month long process of discussions with not only the president, Herm Sorcher, but a bunch of other members of the organization.
It was presented to me, just the interview part. Um, it was the middle of May. So that's kind of where it all started. And then, you know, went through that and, you know, everybody, I guess, felt that this was the best fit for everybody. And, um, we came to a mutual agreement and here we are.
And that fit, of
Best way I can
course,
explain it.
you have plenty of history in Danbury. You've played for multiple franchises in Danbury hockey that started with the Danbury Whalers. You were the first player signed by the Danbury Whalers and Herm Sorcher all the way back in 2010. You have a connection to this city. What about the fan base, the atmosphere, loving hockey attracted you back to the Hat City?
Oh, man. I mean, obviously, being part of the community for, I was here for, let's see, from that year, I guess, 2010 all the way until I left in 21.
Mhm.
Yeah, November of 21. So, um, being part of the community here, spending my time at the rink, in the community, at the hockey store, at the youth programs, locally. I mean, it's it was a big part of, being in this town was a big part of my life, right? I mean, spent a quarter of my life in this city. Um, that's a big part. Um, being part of this again, after being gone and being able to come back. Um, the organization, the area, it's very important from a personal standpoint. Um, as a player, as even I coached coached for 3 years after playing. You don't, you're just there. You know what I mean? You're just in a town, you're playing, you're representing the town, but it's a very small piece of everything. And, the longer, I mean, you look at like Johnny Ruiz now, he's been here a long time. He's part of the community, especially part of the program. Um, the longer you're in one area, the more attached you get to it. And obviously this area is, pretty attached to the area and kind of, I mean, we spend so much time playing and we're all over the place as players. Like I said, you're just there, up and getting called up, getting sent down. But like I said, this was a quarter of my life I've spent in this town in this area. So it's big to come back. It gives it a different feeling instead of you have a job to do. It means a little bit more.
And clearly, you made an impact already in the Danbury Hockey Hall of Fame. What do you think that first game on October 10th against the Port Huron Prowlers, who the Hat-Tricks, of course, have many years of history against, but most recently losing in the first round of the playoffs? How do you think you're going to feel stepping on the bench for the first time back in a little while?
Um, it's going to be different because I mean, I know a bunch of guys still on that team from playing there. So, um, no, it's going to be interesting, to say the least. I'm sure, we're going to have a lot of guys that are returning from last year that have a sour taste in their mouth, losing out in the first round. That's not always fun. They're going to have a lot of returning guys over there, um, and they're going to have the chip on their shoulder. And, you know, they were able to get the last one out of the way in Danbury last year. So they're going to be confident. But, pretty much try to keep emotions in check um, for the most part. But I mean, it's going to be a high emotion night. Home openers always are, especially if both teams have a lot of returning guys. The emotions will be high. The Federal League's pretty unique with that. There's a lot of guys that have played on teams for 2, 3 years. Where a lot of other leagues in the minors, you see a lot more turnover. You see guys bouncing around a little bit more. Um, but here, they have a lot of guys that have played for a few years. We have a handful that have played for a few years. So, um, it's going to be, I don't think there's going to be um, a lot of friendly banter, before the game, but, it's an emotional game. And I'm pretty sure next year the emotions will be high and we're going to have a tough camp and guys will be ready to go and they're going to have a tough camp. Guys are going to be ready to go. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect transition to discuss our Meet the Staff event at Down the Hatch last week. Great turnout by our fans. Thanks so much for coming out. That was your introduction or reintroduction, really, to the Danbury Hat-Tricks faithful. You said, quote, "We need to get our identity back." That definitely stirred up some interaction, some some response from our fans and other fans around the league as well when you said that line and you had your little blurb as well. What exactly do you mean by get the identity back? Is it going back to your early Danbury days? Is it what you think Danbury hockey should be? What exactly is that identity that you're trying to bring back?
It was just more heavy, hard and
Mhm.
heavy.
Mhm.
We had a lot of we had everybody used to finish their hits, just little things like that where it gets the crowd into the game. Danbury's always like that. That's that was the biggest thing was just I just want to be a little more physical. With the Whalers, we were very physical. Titans, we were very physical. When I played for Billy here, team was physical. It was
Mhm.
tough. You had a lot of big, heavy D men. Steve Brown. You could go down the list. I mean, of the guys that played, you know, very heavy and very hard. Um, and that's what I mean by get the identity. I just want to have that more physical team where, you know, it is annoying when you keep getting hit. It is annoying. And it's not fun to play against that. And that's what I mean by that. I mean, just we need to be a little heavier, a little harder, and you know, the rest will take care of itself.
A little more difficult to play against.
That part of identity. Yes, just to be hard to play against, very hard to play against. I mean, it's going to be nice getting back to an organization that, you know, they have winning. Like all the organizations here have, playoff teams outside of that COVID stuff. Um, but they're a good hockey team here. It's a good organization. Won it a couple years ago. Second place last year. I can't remember where they finished the year before. But I mean, it's a great organization. They have a winning tradition. It's like obviously, if you look at my record over the last 3 years, it's not good. It's not, if I was a fan, if I didn't look under the hood, I would honestly be like, what are we doing here? Um, but obviously, you look at a record, but if you really looked under the hood, you'd understand a little bit more.
Mhm.
Uh, Billy Herm, the Diamonds, the group, they all did their due diligence. They did their phone calls. Um, you know, there's a reason, I guess, that they had their faith in me for the season here, and I'm not going to worry about the past. It was a very unique situation. My first tenure coaching, I took over in November with an expansion team in the Southern Pro League, and it was unique to say the least. Um, most of the stories you hear about it are true, but you're missing a lot more. Um, and then, took the job in Macon the next September. Um, we went through three different ownership groups. It was a very, that one was, that was an interesting situation. They're in great shape now. My first group, we were basically just trying to survive. The owners lost tons of money and we were trying to do what we could to survive and got taken over by another group. And then Chuck, who owns the team now, he took over officially sometime at the end of March, early April.
Mhm.
And then, I was let go. I mean, he had to do that. He didn't have a choice. You have to make a splash right away, and he did. No ill will. We still communicate with each other. It was just the way it was. He had to do it. He had no choice.
Mhm.
But they're starting to turn it around now, which is good for them. But here, I mean, in regards to the winning ways, like this team wins. It's like I haven't been in a situation to where it's a six. We're here to be successful, and that's the most exciting part for me. I mean, expectations are very high, and that's awesome. Like I'm excited for that part of it. Players are excited. I know the fans, they're excited for the season. We had great turnout at the Hatch, but I couldn't be more excited to get back to, we're a winning franchise here. Um, I don't know. I watched a handful of games. I haven't really dug into it too much from last year's team. Um, Watched the playoffs, obviously. Um, Billy and I were texting each other, you know, between periods he was playing too.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it was frustrating to see, the loss in game 3 at home. But also at the same time, you look at it and like, if you just look at it on paper, it looks bad, right? It's like, oh, we lost game 3 at home. The turnaround, like usually, like, I don't know what the league was thinking, having game 1 on the road. So Danbury has to drive to Port Huron.
Yes.
Okay, it's not down the road. Okay, they drive over to Port Huron, play game 1, get back on the bus, drive back home to play game 2. That's 2 road games for the highest seed.
Yep.
Like Port Huron only has to play 1 road game. Like they have 1 bus trip for all 3 games. Danbury has two. And it doesn't seem like much, but if you're a player, you understand. You're like, yeah, that does seem like a lot. Like your sleep's garbage, your legs feel like hell. But I mean, this is the minors. At the end of the day, you have to find a way to get through it. Like you can't, it's just another excuse. That's what most people would think,
Mhm.
but it's a fact. Like, oh, that's an excuse. No, that's a fact. Like, that's just the way it is. You know, that's the difference. Most people don't like getting the facts anymore, but that's a fact. Like they were probably gassed. They probably ran out of gas.
Mhm.
Um, but last year's team, it was they were okay at the start, the middle part of the season, and then they took off. I think it was around right after Christmas.
Yep,
Um,
exactly.
then they started then they kind of got it going a little bit. And I mean
Yep,
with
it
the
was, yeah, it
staff
was
they had
about
last year, I'm
middle
sure
of,
it was a new staff.
yeah, middle of
Yeah,
middle
middle
of
of the season.
January after they lost in Virginia. They really turned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had won a couple of games around that Christmas time, late December.
Uh,
But then they
Yeah,
got swept
it
on
was
the
it
road
was right after Christmas.
against the Bobcats, and after that, found their game for sure. Um,
Yeah, and they had, with the staff they had last year, I think it took everybody a little time to kind of get used to the way things work, and then they got it going. Like that's just like anything, right? Like something new, it's going to take a little bit of time, but they figured it out and got on a pretty darn good run last year. And, you know, finished second place. Like if you look at the season, a lot of people were angry and pissed off at that meeting about losing out in the first round. I'm like, yeah, it happens. It's a best of three, but you know, they had a damn good year. Like they finished second place, and people are pissed that they finished in second and lost in like they lost to game three. Like it's like anything can happen games. So, um, but that's good though. But that's good that people are like that. So, it's going to be fun. Obviously it's going to be different, right? With MJ and I, and obviously Johnny, going through the transitional period right now here. Um, we're getting on the same page. We're starting to do the going down the list, starting to see what's available, what's coming back, and we're going to start plugging holes and moving forward.
yeah, there's always expectations attached to the Danbury Hat Tricks winning the championship just a couple of seasons ago. And also when the Binghamton Black Bears win back-to-back championships, arguably your number one rival in the league, that also rubs some people the wrong way. And everybody wants to get back to a championship level, which is something that equates to you really being hired, bringing back the culture that was under Billy, who was the winning coach and now a member also of the Danbury Hockey Hall of Fame. And when we talk about that identity and bringing guys back, going down the list and seeing which pieces you're interested in retaining from last season, how do you think about your roster construction? What are the type of players you're after and some of their attributes?
Well, everybody that was here last year will have an opportunity to come back if they
Mhm.
want to. Made that quite clear when I talked to all the players a couple weeks ago. If they want to come back, they will have an opportunity to come back. Like clean canvas, like you paint your own picture. Um, but also at the same time, it's July. A lot can happen between now and the end of September when we're going to start camp. Um, I believe we're gonna start camp. I did the schedule recently, 29th of September.
Mhm.
I believe will be the first day of camp. I got to figure out with all the league rules and whatnot, like when we can actually start.
Mhm.
Um, but no, construction, we're gonna obviously there are some big pieces that have played, for a little while. Um, need to talk to them. Goaltending situation. Connor's been here for a handful of years, and need to see if he's moving on or if he's going to come back. I mean, it's just like that. For example, just using him as an example, I know Johnny Ruiz is coming back. Um, you know, I just need to talk to everybody and see what their temperature is. See if they want to get after it again or not. But and then we're just going to kind of go from there and construct a group that we feel is going to be the best product we can put on the ice.
Yeah, it seems like this is the case in most of the off seasons. There are question marks of will a guy attempt to move up, go to another camp? If they don't stick there, are they coming back? And of course, the fans fall in love with these players, mostly because of the access that the hat tricks afford them after the games, the player signatures, a bunch of different events out in the community, and all that great stuff that's attached with the Danbury hat trick season. So that's why the fans are, of course, so invested in player movement and who's back and who's not. But at the end of the day, it's just about opportunity. And we are, as you mentioned, just turning the calendar over into July. We still have all of July, all of August, and mostly all of September until the season gets going in October. You
It's
mentioned
very
Connect.
different. It's
Yeah.
different because we start before. Um, I know we're starting before the Southern Pro League. I don't know when the ECHL starts. I believe. I think they're going to start around the same time we do, if not the week after. I don't know. I got to look at it. The CBA just got signed yesterday, but the Southern Pro League starting the week after us. Like we're starting pretty early this year. Um, I don't think we have a weekend off all season, and we're going pretty long.
Yep.
Um, so it's nice, having the 2, 3 game weekends and whatnot. But you know, we're starting pretty early compared to all the other leagues. So I don't know about it. I think with every team in the league, there's going to be so much movement this year.
Hmm.
Like every team. So we're starting. Obviously, our first home game is October 10th, but but there's going to be so much movement all throughout the league, probably until third week in October, because guys are going to be, oh, I'm waiting for, my agent's going to have me picked up on waivers. Oh, I'm going to this team. I'm going to that. And, in the ECHL or the SP or whatever. And there's going to be a lot of movement probably until that third week in October there, probably that week of the 20th through the
Hmm.
24th. Yeah, I'm willing to bet you there's going to be so much change with so many players in that time frame. So, it's a roll of the dice. So when I played for Billy, I think in the first 3 weeks, I think we had, I think it was like 11 or 12 changes.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it was a lot because they had the same thing at the start of the year. So it's uh it's gonna be a weird situation, but like I said, every team in the league is gonna go through it, all 14. So um, that being said, it's gonna be a lot of hectic phone calls and emails, and you're gonna have 5 phone chargers in your pocket at all times. So that's usually the way it is the first month of the season, anyways.
The early season shuffle always brings a lot of player movement, and by the middle of the year, it seems like most teams have things figured out, especially by the trade deadline. Final question for
Yeah,
me.
after we've played Watertown 47 times and
Yeah.
bingo 51 at Christmas.
Well, the new bus will certainly get a workout, but it won't be cross country. It would just be up top into the upper spots of New York State, which is a little bit better, I think, than driving down to, Mississippi or Louisiana. Usually a plane ride, but hey, you never know. Could always go on that new bus as well. But
I
yes,
think our only big trip is we're going down to Florence, South Carolina. I think that's our
correct.
longest one. I think we go to Blue Ridge a couple times. Indiana's a far trip.
Yeah.
That one I think no, it's probably 10, 11 hours or so. We go to Port Huron once, I believe, Indiana twice, PD once, Blue Ridge a couple times. But most of our trips are, Watertown Bingo, and Carolina's coming up this year. So those are always really good games. Um, it doesn't matter where we are in the standings, with those two teams, they're always going to be barn burners. Obviously the Bingo Danbury rivalry it's picking up. I mean, it started Bingo's first year, playing Danbury, into 3 games there, and then all of a sudden, they play each other. They in the playoffs, they play each other in the regular season. They were fortunate enough, they've won it, back to back years. Woody's done a really good job over there. Kirkby, their captain. I played with a couple of the guys over that played there last year. Um, they have a good thing going. We know that they're going to be our toughest opponent, you know, all year long. We play them a ton of times, and we need to find a way to um, you know level the playing field a little bit, get back into we have to go through them no matter what. Like, it's the way it is. No matter how you get to the dance, you have to go through them. And they're on the pedestal right now, and they have been for a couple of years. And we're going to embrace the challenge and get after it.
Yeah, the schedule is always a big topic of conversation, and you see a lot of familiar opponents there throughout the year. The Hat-Tricks will play the Black Bears 16 times, 7 at home and 9 on the road, and 17 games against the Watertown Wolves, 9 at home, 8 on the road, and 1 at a neutral site in New Jersey, which should be exciting. We'll have more details on that as the season goes on. Final question for me. What are the expectations and your vision for this team, both on and off the ice?
I mean, you want to set expectations high, but you want to be realistic. Biggest expectation I have right now is that we're good in the community and good people. Okay, it's a long season. You need to have good people around you. Um, that's the most important. Okay, we're gonna win some games. We're gonna lose some games in that span, but good character is gonna take over a lot of things in the dog days. That is my most important expectation out of the players. Um, but I expect us to play hard. I expect us to play honest. I expect us to play heavy. I just expect guys. I wouldn't expect guys to do things that I wouldn't want. I wouldn't do. You know that I they should have that feeling both ways. Like they expect me to do my job. I expect them to do their job. Um, but we can't cut corners with things this year. Like you said, we have that schedule between the two teams. What is that? 30 plus times between two teams. It's over half of our schedule. So um, we're going to need to prepare well. And that's going to be on me. But I'm going to expect the guys to prepare as well. So it's going to be a two-way street. We're going to have a lot of fun doing it, and it's going to be an intense camp, and it's going to take over from there.
I'd assume it's the same as what you said it down the hatch, but your message to the Hat-Tricks fan base ahead of the year, maybe fire them up a little bit, get them going, remembering that we have Hat-Tricks hockey in about 100 days from now.
Yeah, you don't really have to fire up the Danbury fan base. They're usually going already. So, um, you know, biggest biggest hurdle we're going to have is, trying to everyone get on the same page here because it's a new staff coming in. With myself and MJ, it's going to be new for me. It's going to be new for him. It's going to be new for all the players. Um, Biggest hurdle is going to get that familiarity right away, and enjoy the grind. Um, but we don't have a lot of time to do it. The 100 days is going to come around real quick, but we're going to be fired up for it. I know the front office staff is, boots on the ground. They're getting after it right now, and MJ and I are. doing the same thing in our side of the coin. So like I said, you don't need to do a whole lot to get the Danbury faithful fired up, that's for sure. But if you bring an honest effort, which we will every night, you know, things happen all the time. The end result's the end result, but they're going to know the guys are putting in an effort throughout the week and at the games.
Well, we're looking forward to the start of the season. Welcome back to Danbury. We're super excited to have you here. And we'll be having sit downs all season discussing everything about the Danbury hat trick, some game results, some decisions, whatever happens in the year. Nick and I will have the coverage for you throughout the season. So, Nick, enjoy the long weekend, 4th of July. Not sure if you're having a barbecue or anything like that going to the
No,
water,
I'll be
but
driving. I'll be driving to
you'll be
Iowa.
driving.
Yeah. So hopefully I'll be probably somewhere in Indiana or Ohio where it's flat as can be, and I'm going to see a ton of fireworks going off in towns all over the place. So there's not much out there, some billboards and some gas stations. That's about it.
Yeah.
So I'll be able to see the fireworks pretty nice uh, come Friday night.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the weekend and thanks so much for stopping by.